Today we're enabling our 2014 Ford F-150 to do a little bit more. We're going to be taking a look at the Adarac Pro Series custom fit ladder rack. What makes this ladder rack unique is if you have a tonneau cover that doesn't cover up your stake pockets, you can use it with it. So there's going to be two different types. You're going to have one that's just straight upright, and you're going to have the other ones that are a little bit more in. So with this one, we can get a trifold type hard tonneau cover on here. Depending on where these are though, sometimes we will have a little bit of contact. But if you just had a hard rolling tonneau cover, or even just a soft one, and those stake pockets are open, you can have the best of both worlds. Cover the contents of your bed for all the sensitive items, and then all the big stuff just throw up on top. So we're using the LOMAX Hard Tonneau cover. And as you can see, we don't have a whole lot of clearance, but it will work. And that's just with the rails as far back as possible. So another one you could use is a hard rolling tonneau cover. It's the back revolver X4. That would work with the ones that are uprights. That would also work with the ones that kind of come in at an angle. Or we have another one that's a little bit shorter than these. So the roll up is definitely what you want to go with if you go with the shorter version of this ladder rack. Our ladder racks are obviously for ladders, but you can put a kayak up on here. We're using the Swagman J-style carrier. Some of the other ones like the E-trailer, the Yakima version, and also the other types of rhino racks and stuff you might see on our website. Some of those don't work, but if you do want a kayak carrier for your ladder rack, the Swagman did work pretty well here. And that's just because of the studs right here. On the other versions that don't work, they're not long enough. With the Swagman they are. So to get an idea, the bar, the overall height is about 1.5 inches. And this is a square bar, so it's gonna be 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. So those wraparound accessories, if they work with that size, it's gonna work. Underneath this little weather strip is a T-slot. So those T-slot accessories are gonna work with this. I think that's probably your best bet when it comes to your accessories, just because it'll be as low profile as possible. We will have to trim this up a little bit, but I like the fact that it's on here because it does help keep my ladder in place. Whatever we do plan on putting up onto the ladder rack, we don't want to exceed 500 pounds. That's kind of a standard amount of weight. There's really nothing that's a little bit lower than that, mainly just up from there. So if you did want to have a ladder rack with a tonneau cover and you want more weight, you can go ahead and grab the Thule SR track rack. So that has sliding rails, and you can use the back revolver X4 with that for it to work. And that's gonna give you about 1,250 pounds of capacity. So it all just depends on what you're really wanting to do with it. So that's pretty much the gist of it when it comes to the Adarac Pro Series. A lot of different types. It is also gonna come in silver if you want to grab that. Just depends on what kind of look you're really going for. But moving forward, let's just kind of get into the more in-depth details about the rack. Let's go over some measurements. So from the bed rails all the way up to the bar, so this is where we're going to be putting the ladders or whatever. It's about 26 inches just to the top of that bar. But then if we go up a little bit more, it's about 27.25 inches to the top of our little tie down. So we're going to have a tie down on each end of each bar. And I have 2 hooks going through there right now, but there still is a little bit of room for maybe another. But again, they are plastic, so I wouldn't want to put a whole lot of strain on them. But there are some other options for tie downs on this rack. This isn't going to come with the kit, but we do have some of these, and they come in a pack of 4, so you can have one on each side. And it's going to be perfect just for one single S hook or something like that. If you do have a double J hook or something, it's not going to work with it. But these can be purchased separately. There's another thing we can get with this ladder rack. It's gonna be a load stop, but also it's gonna be a tie down. So what these are gonna do, you would put these underneath, they mount through this hole in the track underneath with the bolt and a little slot, and it'll be like this. So we can sit here, we can loosen it up, put it up against our ladder on both sides, and then we can use this little ring right here to hook all of our straps onto. So these are also sold separately. They just come in a kit of 2. So maybe you want to grab 2 of these for a ladder so you can have load stops on each side on each bar. I also think it kind of looks cool, but there is a very premium option set up over here. So let's go check that out. Come on. So if you want to set up like this and you're not really wanting to break the bank, this is going to be the most economical choice, only giving us 500 pounds capacity, but covering our bed and give us some sort of load up on the bars. But moving on to the more premium option, I like this because it looks awesome. One, you can use the Retrax XR to work with this. It slides all the way back, which is cool. You are going to lose a little bit of bed space with that. But then this is the Overhaul HD. Cool thing about the Overhaul, it is going to have the same capacity as the Adarac, but this is adjustable. And then we do have tie downs built in, which are metal, so they're going to be a little bit heavier duty. And then they also use the heavy duty bars. So if you look up at the crossbar, we're going to have tie downs here as well. And another thing that's cool about this premium option is we're still going to have the T-slot. We don't have to remove the cap to put those T-slots in. And these bars are going to be around the same thickness of it. So your wraparound accessories are still going to work. So that's kind of the same. But then moving all the way down, if you look down by the tower to the left right here, we are going to have locking cores. So this is going to lock to our truck. So the ladder racks lock to it, and then the Retrax locks as well. So this is the more premium option. It looks cooler in my opinion, but again, it's very, very premium compared to the Adarac. So that's probably the best bet if you're just wanting to get into it. But again, if you're looking to just do some heavy hauling, you want to go with the Thule track rack. That's gonna pretty much double the capacity of both of these ladder racks. What I would do is I would keep a 9/16 inch socket in here if you're moving this around a lot. This isn't something that you're gonna be able to do from the outside of the truck, because I can start to move this side, but then the other side doesn't come with it. So what you want to do is take both your hands, and then this way it'll slide a lot easier along that track. So we can slide it all the way back here, so we can use the whole entire bed if we really wanted to, or you can just completely take out those bolts that we loosened for it to slide, and you can just take the rack completely off. If you really want to enable your truck to do a lot more than what it can do now, stick around. We're going to show you how we got this whole entire system set up and installed. This ladder rack is designed to work with your stake pockets, so make sure you have a tonneau cover like the LOMAX right here that's gonna give us access to that. If you don't have it, just Dremel something out to give yourselves access for it. So now that all of that is done, we're gonna take our rail, which there's gonna be a couple rails with our ladder racks. There's gonna be the crossbars with the rubber strips in it, and then we're gonna have these rails. And what we wanna do with these, so we have these little holes right here, and that is what's going to line up here. So just go ahead and kind of put this up there, make sure it's going to work, make sure it lines up, and then we can start to mount this down. Before we do anything, we want to prepare our side rail. So we're going to take these, and we want the part that sticks out to be facing the inside. You can kind of see how the track makes up for that. So slide those in. There's going to be 4 on each side. Kind of fun. And then once that's done, on both sides we're going to have a cap that goes like this, and then this little screw is going to fit in this little piece right here. Once that cap's in place, we want to kind of press down pretty good and rotate it in until that cap stays nice and tight in place. We can do that for this side and also the other side. And it's going to be the same thing for both rails on the driver's side and passenger. So here's the configuration that I had, and all you got to do is just go through the top ones, go down, and then go through that hole on the bottom. Kind of tricky lining them up at first. Once you get it, you're good pretty much. I do find it a little easier to kind of line it up and then twist it to push through. And once that's done, kind of pull it through. Then we can tie our little knot, kind of like tying your shoes. We do want the extruded part to be on the bottom, facing down. Then we're gonna have 2 other spacers going up top. We are gonna have some excess of these if you need to use them, but for today we don't have to. So what you wanna do, you're gonna lift this rail up, get the string going through the rail. We don't want to drop this. And now that that's done, we can take this and go in just like that. And we can pull this up through. That bottom plate's a little wider, so that's really what we're looking for. Or the bottom plate's holding everything down, and then the other two plates are just filling the gap. So once you get that perfectly in place, we want to keep holding on to this, and then we'll take our long bolt right here and thread that in. And once it's in there, put the bolt in, and I like to kind of just hand tighten it for now, because the more you tighten it down, the less we're going to be able to shift the rails. So keep that in mind. Get the rails to where you want it. I think I'm just going to line this gap of the cap right up with this right here, because that'll look the best, I think. So do that, tighten it up just by hand. Make sure the rail is pushed in. And then once this is done, we can tighten it down, and then we can take these strings off. But we do want to do a couple measurements first. We want to measure from this inside rail right here to the other side. One in the back, which is 67.5 inches. And then we'll do the same thing up here by the cab. And that is 67.5, so we're good. So we can tighten everything down and pull our strings through. It's not completely even. We just want to kind of shift this around to make it match both the front and the back. You just need a 9/16 inch socket to tighten this down. I like to push it in as I'm tightening it down. Try to keep that rail from sliding as well. Solid. So nobody's perfect, and that includes me. So when I initially did this, I did not put the washer down. I took the string out, and yeah, that was kind of a no-no. So definitely put the washer down first before you put the bolt in, so you don't have to do what I had to do. We luckily got it, but make sure to put that washer on there and then tighten it down. Now let's prepare the crossbar. We're gonna take this little piece, we're gonna have two of them, and we're going to have the threads facing away from the slot, just like that. You're gonna slide that down to where you need it, and then let's put this up on there. Two of these little screws, or little bolts. And once we get it on, we wanna make sure the flat part's facing out. Line it up. And I just like to get those threads going so that they're not gonna fall out on us, but we can still slide this bar around. So we can do that for both sides. With the bar fully assembled, we can put it up on the bed rails of our truck. And now, since we don't have them completely tightened, we can expand them out. And this is a good time to get the measuring tape out to make sure that the crossbar overhang is going to be the same on both sides. So I'm actually going to bring it in a little bit, go out a little bit. We can measure and make sure all that's good. So one other thing, if you look at it from the side, there's going to be an angled section, and then there's going to be a straight section. So this is straight, this is angled. So we want the straight sections on the back one to be facing the back, and then on the front, we want the straight section to be facing the front. So the straight sections are on the outsides. So now that that's done, we can get this into place. And remember these little threaded pieces that we put in there a while ago? What I like to do is kind of spread them out a little too much, and then line one up like that, and then just go boop, 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 like that. Then we can take our bolts and feed them through. End cap, we want the loop to be up top. It's gonna go like this. So we'll slide our last two in here, one on this side, one on the other. And we can slide this through, line it up, and put our bolt through. And we can tighten these down. We don't have to go too tight on these, but we do want to make them nice and snug. And now we can do that same thing for the other side. Once we position our bars where we want them, we can tighten them down, give them a good shake, make sure it's nice and solid, and these are solid. So we're pretty much done for the install. And that's pretty much it for our look at the Adarac Pro Series custom fit ladder rack on our 2014 F-150.